Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my October show and tell. I have a big pile of things, so like usual, these tend to be long videos. I don't know why I actually give that warning since most of my videos tend to be long videos, but I am filming this on the very last day of October. This is going to go up on my channel in a couple of days, but I have so many things I need to talk about. So many things. So I am going to dive in. Welcome if you're new here. I like to talk about everything that makes me happy and that I get excited about, which is a lot of things. Let's dive into this. So I want to talk about YouTube. There's a few things specifically I really want to shout out this month that I've been really enjoying. The first of these is Shamanic Arawak Priestess made a really great video called Love Mail and LGBTQIA+. So I will link that in the description box down below. It was just such a moving video, and it reminded me a lot of those first steps to along my own journey, I guess I want to say. And I don't want to say any more than that because it's not my story to tell, but definitely go take a look at that if you are in the mood for just a little, like a little aw moment. At least that's what it felt like for me. I hope that sounds okay. I hope that doesn't come off weird, but like, it just was a really nice video. I also wanted to talk, this one, oh, I don't even know where to begin. So Candy of Candy Soil and Soul, or Soul and Soil? Soul and Soil. Candy, Soul and Soil. Has been participating in Inktober, which is a month of daily like pen and ink drawing prompts. Basically, it's like an art prompt series. I've never watched one of these series before, ever. And I watched the first one and I almost immediately started like bawling because she is doing some really powerful responses to those prompts. So first of all, Candy is an incredibly talented mixed media artist, I guess is what I'm sure there's another name for it. I'm not versed in these things, but she does this incredible thing where she layers like papers and then draws over top of the papers, and the way that the papers are layered goes into the artwork. And besides the fact that she's making this incredible art, she's also putting together written word, like poetry responses. So she'll start her video with a poetry response and then goes into the drawing. And that's not even the best part. Like, honestly, the best part has been the power of her words, because she's sharing a lot of really vulnerable, painful pieces from her own history, particularly her experiences with narcissism, which, as a lot of you know, especially those of you who used to partake in Self-Worth Saturday or who have seen some of my more vulnerable content, know that I've had a long history and a lot of experience dealing with narcissists in my own life, and her words are hitting home so hard, and it's just really potent stuff. So I just, like, honestly, I'm humbled by how, I don't know if humbled's the right word, like, in awe of, I suppose, the power and the vulnerability in her words and in her artwork. And when she finishes, she starts off with the poem, she does the artwork, and then when she finishes the artwork, she also shows you kind of a finished footage of what that artwork looks like when it's all finished and framed, and even the frames are a part of the artwork. Like, it's just so powerful. And she's taking her time with all of the prompts. Like, she did them like on the day of for the first bit of the month, and then she's like, whoa, this is a lot. I'm gonna like space it out. I'm not gonna pressure myself. And I was like, yes, good, because I am just at the edge of my seat for every new piece that she releases. So those are still ongoing. She's not finished with them yet, but I definitely recommend you check them out. I will have a link below, and if she has a playlist, I'll just link the playlist. But if there's not a playlist, I'll link the first video in that series, because holy moly, it was just, I mean, it was everything. It was probably my favorite thing of the month, just hands down, period, of everything else, because it just hit so close to home and in such a powerful way. And I love that stuff. I love when people let their guard down and anyways, go watch it. Particularly if you have any of those kinds of experiences, because I feel like you'll feel really seen and really heard and really validated. So really cool stuff. I also wanted to talk about Allison Bright on YouTube. I don't know how I missed her starting her channel, but she is this really bright, bubbly, but also very real and authentic kind of person that is on YouTube, and she started a channel, and I think I stumbled, I don't know if she'd done a VR to one of my videos or something came up, and I found her channel quite by accident, and I've just been really enjoying her content, so check her out as well. Again, Allison Bright is her channel, so I'll have a link to that down below also. So that's it for YouTube. I did not make notes about anything magical, although I am doing some magical things later today. Today, as I'm filming this, it is Samhain, so I have a few things planned, one of which I will be sharing with you guys at some point in the future. I don't know when that will actually be released on the channel, but keep an eye out for that because I will definitely be sharing some of the magic-y things that I'm doing today, and some of which will be personal as usual for my Samhain. But that will probably be, I guess, technically a favorite, but I can't really share it yet because I haven't done it yet. But that's coming up. So I don't really have anything to share in that category, but I have a few things I want to share about in the beauty category or body and beauty category that I put in here. So a few things I've been loving. Where to start? So I'm going to start with my nails because I've been doing my nails through the month of October and having a really good time. But I have just wanted to share a few of my favorite nail polishes, pretty much ever, but of ones that I know I've worn this month. This one is probably my favorite, not probably, this is my very favorite nail polish. Brand, experience, everything is perfect about this polish. This is the, oh my gosh, it's got such a long name. It's Gueralain. It's hideously expensive. I bought this ages ago, but it is literally the perfect nail polish. It's not even the color, like the color on this is stunning. I have two nail polishes by this brand because again, hideously expensive. But it's not the color that I'm raving about. It's the formula, it's the brush, it's how easy it is to use. Like everything is just freaking perfect. Anyway, so it's Gueralain and it's called, oh gosh, do they have the full brand name of the polish? Like something Noir. It's like, this is what the bottle looks like. I'm not very helpful here. This particular shade is in Black Perfecto, and see, it's got this like little like clear plasticky thing. I don't know if you can see that, and it comes off, and then you've got a little grippy part, so you can actually like deal with the bottle without any trouble. I say as I like try to fuss with it, but what I want to, I don't know if I can show this on camera. Let's see if I can do this without getting nail polish everywhere. It's got a really wide flat brush. I don't know if that shows up well. I'm too far from the camera to be able to tell for sure in the viewfinder if that showed up. Anyway, the nail polish, this brush is exactly the right size and shape that when you put it, like at least when I put it on my nails, I put it in about like a third of the way up from my cuticle and I just kind of push the polish forward and like swipe once down my nail and it's like my nails are perfectly done. They're just perfectly done. I could do the little side swipe if I wanted to, but I don't have to because it's like this brush, like it's perfectly rounded at the end. Those of you who don't care about makeup and nail polish are probably like, oh my god, stop talking. But it's so exciting to me because you like put the nail polish brush on there and then it goes perfectly into the round part at the base of my cuticle, and then when I pull it back, it just fans out perfectly. The formula like spreads out. 2 coats are perfect. I don't even care how long it lasts, although it usually lasts about a week, which is what most of my polishes last. They're usually chipping by the end of the week, but still. There's not enough words. I need like a bunch more of these, but again, hideously expensive. I think this bottle of polish was something ridiculous, like $35. It was insane. Again, I bought these a long time ago. I have 2 of them. I have this Black Perfecto shade, which I love. It's like a really super black and purple, but it's so dark that it's like, it's more black than purple, but it's got that hint of purple in it and just a very subtle shimmer, and it's just, oh, it's so pretty. Anyways, love this color. The color that I got actually some comments on this month was Merida, which I'm pretty sure is like inspired by Merida of Brave, but it is this gorgeous Zoya polish, and it's like a green shimmer. It's got like a bit of hollow in the shimmer. I don't know if that shows up. I also used a top coat, but I forgot to grab it. But it's by I Love Nail Polish, and I think it was called The Alchemist or something along those lines. I forget. Anyways. But this polish, I love Zoya as a brand. I think if I had to pick a favorite brand other than this incredible amazingness, it would be Zoya. Their polishes are really, really good. So I wore this one this month. And I also wore Olivera, which I wore for this past week leading up to Halloween. And this one is a really cool duochrome that's like purple, blue, or green, depending on, oh, I guess it's more like blue or green, depending on the light. So I don't know if I can get it to show up. It looks like it's showing up mostly green. I don't know if the shift, again, I can't see the viewfinder like pretty much at all. So I'm just kind of going on faith here, but I don't know if the duochrome shows, but this one, yeah, Olivera. These are really great. They also have a great brush. They also spread out really nicely, and they also, yeah, they're good. They're close. They're probably the closest to this as far as formula and shape of the brush, but this is still way, way better. It's so good. Also related to nails, when I take my polish off, I usually wear my nails bare for a day or two, and in that period of time, I use this Nails Inc Overnight Detox mask with green tea, acai, and spirulina. I don't know if this actually does anything, but I tell myself that it does. I don't know if you can see, I've like literally used more than half of it. Oh no, it looks like it literally in this light, I can tell it's almost gone. It's like, no. But this stuff, so this has got the similar like pull off cap. I used to wear a lot of nails ink polish actually, but this stuff smells so good. It literally smells like green tea. It smells so refreshing, and I usually just rub this on my cuticles and rub it in like before, and into my nails and stuff, and I'll rub it in before bed. And I'll do that a couple, like on the nights that my nails are bare, and it just helps everything, I think, maybe. I mean, my nails are growing longer, so maybe it is contributing. I don't know. There's other nail things that I use, base coat, top coat, and like nail drying drops and all kinds of other stuff, but I will spare you because otherwise I'll be talking about nail polish this whole video, and that's not why you're here, I'm pretty sure. Makeup wise, I only did my makeup once or twice. Maybe just once. I did it for 3 Fat Readers. That's another YouTube favorite, by the way. Go check out our last 3 Fat Readers. We talked about the Mystic Masters Tarot by the beautiful Danny Mystic. You have to go check that out. Anyways, but I did my makeup for that, and I wanted to do it with this. These are great. Okay, so let me back up. If you like eyeshadow, these little e.l.f. bite-sized shadows, they come with like 4. I have 4 or 5 of these, and they're all really, really good. So I wore this one, which is called Pumpkin Spice. I wore that one in the 3 Fat Readers video, and you'll also see it because I filmed my anti-haul that's going to come up in a couple of weeks. I filmed that with this shadow, but I also used a couple of the shades from this one. This is a really good basic one, but it's really pretty, called Cream and Sugar. So I like to use the lightest color in this one, which is this shade over here, and the champagne-y, oh no, I didn't use the champagne-y shimmer, I used the gold shimmer in my eyeshadow look that I wore for 3 Fat Readers. So these are really good. They are very inexpensive, and they perform like as well as any of my higher end shadows, so I love these. These are good. These are not going anywhere, and it's nice to be able to just pull out like a quad like this and just do your eyeshadow and not have to think about like what colors you're going to use. So that was a beauty favorite. And another beauty favorite, this I am loving, and I will definitely be replacing, if not this scent, another scent, although I do love this scent. But this is the Tree Hut Shea Sugar Scrub, and it's the Marula and Jasmine one. So I actually always keep a sugar scrub, even if it's a hand, I often make them myself, but this is really nice. So I'll probably just keep buying this. But I always keep a hand scrub or a sugar scrub by my bathroom sink, and I try to use it about once every couple of days, sometimes more often if my skin is feeling really dry and like flaky, because I have a nasty habit, I've had it for my whole life, of like picking and chewing at the skin around my cuticles, and I've been doing my nails, and I'm trying to keep my hands and my nails good so that I can like break that habit. And whenever I'm keeping my skin really nice around my hands and keeping my nails polished, I do that way less, and sometimes not at all, which is amazing. But this one as a sugar scrub, and it's actually intended to be a body scrub, but I love using sugar scrubs for hand scrubs. This smells so good. I love the scent of jasmine, but this is sweeter. So I don't know, marula is a type of oil, so I don't know what the other scent notes are in here. It's probably meant to be mostly jasmine, but it's so good. And I think they have some citrusy or tropically ones too. But there's a ton of this in here, and what I do is I keep a little like ceramic spoon next to this on my bathroom sink, and I just twist off the lid. I use the spoon rather than dipping my wet hands in here so that it doesn't get all goopy. So I use the little scoop, pull some out, put the lid back on, scrub my hands with it when my hands are just very barely damp. So, and even sometimes if my skin's really rough, I'll use it on dry hands, and then I rinse it in warm water. So it makes my hands like nice and smooth. And scrubs like this have oils in them that stay on your hands even after you've rinsed and dried your hands, so you get that kind of moisturizing after effect. Love it. Okay, that's it for Body and Beauty. Let's talk about TV. There's almost nothing to talk about because I've watched almost nothing in October. In the Show Must Go On YouTube, which I've talked about a bunch in my faves videos in these show and tells, they re-showed Phantom of the Opera, so I watched it again. So good. I just love it. I need to read the book at some point. It's on my list. It's just that I have a bazillion books to read. More on that when I talk about books. But anyways, let's talk about food, because I have a few things to show. First of all, I have become obsessed with jam in October. And that probably sounds very strange, except for that I discovered a brand of jam, and I don't remember how I first heard about it or why I was obsessed with going and picking some up. But I heard about this brand. Some of you guys are, I'm assuming you have this in the States. I'm sure you have this in the States. Yeah, anyways, it's called Bon Maman is the brand, and it's a product of France, so it's imported. The jars look like this. You'll notice that mine is empty. This is just one of like 6 jars of this brand of jam that I've purchased in October. This was the raspberry, which is what got me hooked. Nope, it doesn't smell. I washed out the jar so I could show it to you guys. But it's got this cute like checkered top. This was the most delicious raspberry jam I've ever had in my life, and that probably sounds ridiculous because, I mean, jam is jam. Like, growing up for me, jam was jam. It all tasted kind of the same. Not this jam. This jam tastes better and more like the fruit that it's got in it than any other jam I've ever had. It's like, it's real jam. It's not full of all this extra stuff that a lot of commercial jams have. Anyways, it's so good. And when I first bought this, I probably went through half the jar in the first 3 or 4 days just having jam on toast, jam on crackers. I just really wanted to eat jam all the time. I even stirred some of this jam. Oh, I've missed a little spot of raspberry. I stirred some of this jam into some plain Greek yogurt, and it tasted like the most delicious raspberry Greek yogurt I've ever had in my whole life. It was so good. But anyways, by the time I went through half the jar, I was obsessed. So I had to go back to multiple stores to source other flavors. So I have, over there, I have a backup of the raspberry. I'm currently eating the apricot. I also have blackberry. Now, blackberry is my favorite fruit. I've talked about that before because I'm obsessed with like blackberry lip balm and stuff. Blackberry is my favorite fruit. So I'm really excited about the blackberry, but I'm going to eat the apricot first because otherwise I won't eat the apricot. But I have a backup of the blackberry, so I have 2 blackberries over there. I'm looking at like a little shelf where I have some extra like backups of food. Like backups of food? You know what I mean, right? Like, you guys do that when you stock up on stuff? Anyways, so I have backup of raspberry that I can get into, and I've got 2 blackberry. And I also tried the cherry, and that was actually delicious. It tasted exactly like fresh cherry. It's just that it was chunky in a way I didn't like, and I'm a weird texture person, so I ended up giving that one to our son and his girlfriend. But flavor-wise, it was so good. And there's more to try. There's a 4 fruits one that I want to try. I feel like I saw 1 or 2 other flavors recently. I'm obsessed. It's delicious. If you've never tried this brand of jam, try this brand of jam. And maybe you all know about this already, and I'm like really late to the party. Tell me down below, have you ever heard of this? Have you had this jam? Do you understand how good it is? Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about the jam now, but I'm really excited. The other 2 things food-wise I'm obsessed with lately is, I literally have, this is another backup, so it's sealed, so I won't spill it because I don't trust myself. But this new Cheerios you guys are probably like, I came on this tarot channel and this girl's talking about nail polish and Cheerios, but I mean, like, this is my life, right? So I'm just sharing what I'm excited about. Cheerios Oat Crunch Cinnamon. This is like if Cheerios, and I love the oaty flavor, like the oat flavor of even just plain Cheerios. I love Cheerios. I've always loved Cheerios. But this is like if Cheerios and a really delicious cinnamon granola got together and made a baby. That's what this is. It's so good. I love granola. I love crunchy cereal. I cannot handle it when my cereal gets even a tiny bit soggy, so I have small portions of cereal so that I can eat it before it goes. I'm like one of those people that literally eats the serving size that's on the box. What is it, like a cup? Yeah, it's like a cup. That's about what I have at a time of cereal. So cereal actually lasts me a fair amount of time, but I have an open box of this. This is my backup box. It's actually kind of expensive right now, but then so is granola. So like I feel like it's a little cheaper than granola, but it's definitely more expensive than regular cereal. But when you're done eating the cereal, what's left in the bowl is not soggy cereal. It's like heavy bits of like granola that have fallen to the bottom. And so they're still crunchy and still delicious. And I love the cinnamon flavor. There's like a honey flavor, I think. Oat and honey or something. I don't know, but cinnamon is it's perfect. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. And this is quite an upgrade for me because my usual go-tos for cereal, which this is like confession time because this will not be a surprise, but I also get teased for it a lot in my actual real life. My favorite go-tos for cereal are typically Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms and Cocoa Puffs, except not real Cocoa Puffs. Up here we have a different Nestle Puff. What are they called? They're not Cocoa Puffs. They're a different brand. I think they're Nestle Quick Puff. I don't know what they're called. They're the Canadian popular brand of chocolate puffed cereal. I don't know. Those are my normal go-tos, right? I like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. If the cereal was designed for 7-year-olds, it's my cereal, usually. So this feels incredibly grown up by comparison. I mean, I do sometimes go through bouts of eating like just regular Honey Nut Cheerios. So this wasn't like, this was just a little sidestep. But this feels very grown up compared to the cereals that I normally have in the cupboard and that I normally eat. Like Fruit Loops is my main one that I normally have. Yeah. I'm actually a child in all areas of my life. Like, it's not just on the YouTubes. Anyways, this is really yummy, and if you've never tried it, you should try it. I'm assuming you have it in the States, because usually if you have it, if I have it, you have it. It just doesn't work that way in reverse. So y'all get way more of everything. But like, anyway, also check out the beautiful French side. In Canada, you get the English side and the French side. Isn't that amazing? I've almost used up all my time on the first clip of this video. So we're going to just like move it along. So that's it for food, I think. Oh no, that's not it for food. Okay. So the other thing I am obsessed with, and I now always have one of these in the fridge at all times. I think I might have even talked about it on a favorites before, but I don't think I've ever showed it, is Cookie Bluff. Okay, so let me show you the jar. Let's see if it'll focus. Get the glare off of it. I don't know if the glare is off of it, because again, I can't really see my viewfinder, but this stuff is delicious, and it is basically, like, this is an empty one, because I've eaten it all. One of these tubs usually lasts me more than a month, because, let me tell you what it is. So Cookie Bluff is basically raw cookie dough that is literally made to be eaten raw. So it's actually got in it, like, even the flour has been like heat treated so that it's safe, like everything in here is safe to eat raw. So that's like the whole point, is that you can literally just like take a spoon and scoop up some of this and put it in your mouth, which, let's face it, I would do with regular cookie dough that you're making fresh cookies out of, but like you couldn't keep raw cookie dough in the fridge and like have a bite of it at a time all month long, because that would go bad. And also that's raw egg, and that's probably not a smart thing to do. But this is made for that, and it's so good. It actually says on the package, "We have made considerable effort to create the best cookie dough to eat raw, but hey, if you still want to cook it, we won't judge you as long as you're happy." And then it does have baking instructions. I have never baked any of this dough. I literally just eat it. So this is this chocolate signature, and it's like a chocolate chunk cookie dough. It's like classic cookie dough, and you can just eat it. And because, okay, I have like this funny sweet tooth. I think I've talked about this before. I definitely talked about it in my book, but I have this kind of sweet tooth where like I want a little and this is something I learned when I stopped dieting years ago, is that I actually only like a tiny amount of something sweet occasionally. If we get a pack of cookies, I'll have like 2 cookies, and the rest of it will be gone before I remember to go back to it. I'm like very small portions when it comes to sweet, like desserty things. So this is literally the perfect thing, because it's got an expiry date. Like, this one wouldn't have expired until December. So they last a long time. I can keep this in the fridge. I can get a spoon, and I get like one of those like tiny little like coffee stirring style spoons, like a tiny one. I'll scoop out like I guess probably at max a tablespoon worth of this cookie dough. I will eat it. I will put this container back in the fridge, and I'm done until the next day. Like, it's just like the perfect thing. Because there's probably only, what is this, 400 grams. So this is probably like, it's not even 2 cups of cookie dough in here. It's probably like a cup and a half. I think maybe like if I was to guess in ounces, this is probably, I don't know what the conversions are, but I think it's about 12 ounces. So about a cup and a half. But yeah, so this lasts me a long time. There is another one currently in my fridge. I probably will try another flavor at some point. There is a birthday cake flavor, and there is a cookies, like a cookies and cream kind of, I guess like an Oreo cookie. Like, they don't say Oreo, but like a cookie one. But this one's just so good, and it's like what I ate when you make cookies. You have this one. So this is just the chocolate signature. It's so good. Look at the happy cloud face on this container. Isn't it so cute? Anyways, this is so good. So it's a favorite. I think I'm done talking about food now. Random things, and then we're going to get into books, and then I'm going to flip the camera around and we'll look at decks. So the first random thing that has become a favorite in the past month, and actually a little bit longer than that, is Book Outlet. So if you haven't seen my previous 2 Book Outlet haul videos that I just go live and I show some of the books that I've done through live streams, you can watch them back. If you haven't seen those, you should see them to see just how obsessed I've become with this online bookstore. But I'm obsessed. I've been reading a lot. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed because they are really inexpensive books, and it's alarming my wife, who does not want me to have all of these books cluttering up our house, but she's learning to cope, right? So, and you can see some of that actually in the most recent Book Outlet haul, where she was in the bath when I started my live stream and showed all of the books I had been recently buying, and like she comes out of the bath and I'm still showing books, and she's like, how many books did you buy? And then it's a whole thing. You can go check it out. But I'm obsessed with Book Outlet. I will have a link to them down below. There's a US and a Canada site. I obviously shop the Canada site. I think they pull the same inventory though, because I've heard from enough people that have picked up a lot of the same books that I've gotten that I'm pretty sure we're pulling from the same inventory, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I found some great books at Book Outlet, and I will talk more about some of them that I've read this last month shortly. But first, a couple of other random things I want to talk about. This one, I haven't actually used this. I'm just so excited that I have it. But this was I think it was either an add-on or like a stretch goal or something with the Divine in Play deck. But look, it's a reading cloth, and I was so excited. I think it was like Dustin glided Danny and I the one day and was like, do y'all, because he just got this. It just came in an envelope separate, just like it did to me. But I hadn't gotten mine yet. I'd totally forgotten this had anything to do with that campaign, and he's like, y'all, I just got this like reading cloth. I don't know where it came from. Like, it's pretty, but like, where did it come from? Do you guys know? So we were all trying to figure it out, and eventually he figured out it was Divine in Play Tarot, which I've done a walkthrough of. This is like a really kind of, it's like a scarf material, right? It's like, you can tell this was like a custom printed scarf. But if you don't already know, I'm obsessed with unicorns. P.S. If you're new here, I'm obsessed with unicorns. I mean, that won't be a surprise even if you are new here, because I've already talked about all the things that children would like. So it's probably not a surprise. Also, you can probably see my like Hello Kitties and pink, everything in the back. I like unicorns. Anyways, but more importantly, I am obsessed with the unicorn tapestries, which this image is actually from. This is Unicorn in Captivity, and there's a whole big like bunch of mythology associated with this particular image, and it talks about the unicorn tapestries tell the story of like trying to capture a unicorn, and there's a whole bunch of, it's just beautiful. Anyways, it was a tapestry. I have now a reading cloth made out of it, but this is not the kind of reading cloth I normally use, so I need to ask my dear darling talented wife to back this onto some cotton or some suede or some something for me, so that I have faux suede, not real suede, but just so I have something like more sturdy behind it so that I can use it. But it's real pretty, and it's a random favorite because I'm excited about it. Also, my dog is protesting that she can't come in here right now, but she's gonna have to deal. If you hear a dog scratching at the door, that's what's happening. Anyway, other random things. Do I only have one other random thing? Yeah, I only have one other random thing. I've been playing with a new toy. So this is the Nintendo Switch Lite, if you don't already know. I've customized mine. It's got like a case that matches its color. This is the Coral Switch Lite, and I've gotten these little cute like joystick covers that have little paw prints on them that match. Isn't that cute? So this is like something I've been having a lot of fun with, and it's amazing. So I actually have a Nintendo 3DS, and I used to play like Animal Crossing and other like casual games, probably also made for children, on that device. But the new Animal Crossing is very exciting, and now I have it on this Nintendo Switch Lite, and it is so much fun. If you want to be Animal Crossing or Switch friends or whatever, let me know in the comments down below. I will add you. I'm perfectly happy to do that. And I am currently obsessively playing, obviously, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I'm also playing Paper Mario Origami King, which is super fun. And I picked up the Harry Potter collection, which is the Lego Harry Potter games. And there's two. There's years 1 through 4 at Hogwarts, and then years 5 through 7, I think is how it works. So those are the games I'm currently playing. So yeah, and also, if you have a Nintendo Online subscription, which I think was something ridiculous, like $40 for a year for our entire family, you can play old Nintendo and Super Nintendo games for free, which is really cool. Anyways, so I've been playing with this a lot. So this is a favorite. I love it so much, so much. I gotta talk about books, and then I have to have enough time left in this video to talk through decks. So I'm gonna get moving. I'm gonna share with you everything I read in October, and there's a lot. So let's get into it. First of all, this book, I think I actually got this off Amazon, not off of Book Outlet. That is Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book. I think I was randomly watching BookTube, and somebody said this was like a great Halloween like read or October read, and it's a middle grade book, and it's illustrated. It's actually got some really charming like illustrations in it. This is the best book. Probably one of my favorite books I think I've ever read. It was so touching and so well done. Oh, look, it has an award too. It's like the John Newbery Medal. Basically, this book was inspired, Neil Gaiman was inspired by The Jungle Book. So if you know the premise of The Jungle Book, this is a similar premise, but the primary character, whose name is basically Nobody, like Nobody Owens is his name, he ends up, through a series of circumstances, being raised by ghosts in a graveyard. So it's his sort of like experiences like being raised in that environment, and it's just really atmospheric and really quirky and fun and also touching, and it's about like growing up and coming to terms with who you are and all these kinds of things, and it was really good, and I totally cried, but in a good way. Like it by the end you feel like your heart is warm, right? It's like that kind of crying. It was good. I will read it again next October. This book is not going to go anywhere. This is one I will keep because I know I will reread it again and again and again. Okay, I also read, this came in a Owl Crate box, Where Dreams Descend by Janella Angelis. So the book, like write-up on this book described it as like Phantom of the Opera meets Moulin Rouge, and I would say that's pretty accurate. I loved the story. I got really into the story. I enjoyed the characters. I felt like they were really well developed. This is basically about a female magician who is trying to prove herself and all the things that kind of happen to her, and she gets swept up in this kind of mystery that's happening in an air. Anyways, I'm really bad at synopsizing without spoilering, so I'll stop there. But anyways, it was good, but I was mad at the end because it's a series and it ended on what I felt was too much of a cliffhanger. I don't like that. I don't like it when things don't resolve at least a little bit in the end. I've ranted about this before, but if I want to have the option to read a series. I don't want to feel forced to read a series. So when I read a book and like it feels like it's going to force me to read the next book to know what happens to the primary characters in the current story arc, that kind of pisses me off, to be completely honest. Like, I will read the sequel, but finish a story arc and then introduce the next book. Make me want to read it by giving me a little bit of a teaser about what's going to happen next. But, like, don't leave me on, like, a major cliffhanger of what you've been building up to the entire story. That makes me mad. So I probably won't read this again, and I also probably won't read the sequel because I'm annoyed with it. So then, and this one I did get on Book Outlet, I got Neil Gaiman's Coraline. So I wanted to read this because I just read the Graveyard Book, and I was like, well, I need to read Coraline now because that's a classic Neil Gaiman. So I saw Coraline on Book Outlet, ordered it. It was like really cheap. I think it was like $3 or $4. I got it in, and it's the graphic novel. And I was like, I'm not opposed to reading the graphic novel, but like I want to read the regular book. So I did get the regular Coraline by Neil Gaiman, the actual like middle grade proper, and it is illustrated. Let me find an illustration here so you see what the illustration style is like. Oh, there's a creepy one. So if you know the story, this is again another really creepy, kind of fun, Halloween-y read. I will definitely be keeping this book as well. I really, really enjoyed reading it. And then after I finished it, I read Coraline, the graphic novel. So these are both really, really good. But I would say I would definitely recommend reading the regular book and then reading the graphic novel like I did. They both had a very different feel. Coraline feels a little younger in the regular book, and she feels a little bit older just because of the art style in this version of Coraline in the graphic novel. But they were both really fun. I'll probably pass the graphic novel along. Well, maybe I'll keep it for now. I know I'm keeping the regular hardbound Coraline, and I will read it again next October because it was a quick, fun, creepy kind of read, and I liked it a lot. I also read, and I ate this up in like 3 or 4 days, and I loved it so much. I cannot wait for the sequel. I haven't read it yet. I'm going to wait because I've got a bunch of other things I want to read, and I know I'll really love it, but A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I first heard about this book actually from Julie Peekaboo Rose, who had talked about this book. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Stunning. I loved every single page. This was one of those books that like I had a hard time. I like to read at night before I go to sleep, and this is one that kept me up a little too late because I just didn't want to put it down. And that's saying something because usually reading makes me fall asleep. And this one just kept, the pacing was good. The story was excellent. I was super invested in the characters. It was really, really good. And the main character in this actually, Harper, who is our Beauty in this story, actually has cerebral palsy, and that is woven into the story in this really cool way where, you know, she kind of realizes that she's capable of more than even she thought she was. And I think she was a very strong self-confident kind of character to begin with, but throughout the story she actually even realizes even more of what she's capable of and how she underestimates herself. And it was just a really, really good story. I'm really invested in these characters. And again, I cannot wait to read the next one, which is A Heart So Fierce and Broken, I believe. So I'm excited to read that, but I'm not going to for a while. I will be happy to revisit these characters later, but this was good. And this was a book outlet find, and I think I paid like $4 for it. It was so good. Also on Book Outlet, Night Books. This is a fun one. I will probably pass this along when I'm done with it. It is fun. I'm not quite finished. I've just got a little bit left. This is another middle grade novel, and it's basically about a boy who is into all things creepy, and he likes to write creepy stories, and he ends up getting captured by a witch, and he has to tell her stories to kind of keep her from basically, you know, destroying him. So that's like a survival tactic, and I'm just near the end of the book. I think he's kind of befriended somebody, and we'll see where the story goes, but this has been fun. But it's not one that I think I'd be like super excited to break out again next year like I will with the Graveyard book. So I will pass this along when I'm finished, but it is really good. And I wanted to mention it because I'm going to finish it like today. So it counts for my October reads. And lastly, I'm going to put it over by my bed so I finish it tonight. And lastly, I haven't read this, but this was a really exciting purchase in October. So I blame Dustin for this. Oddly, he's not going to want to take credit. I know he won't, but like I'm kind of blaming him about it because he has been talking about Taschen's tarot book, and he did a beautiful walkthrough of Taschen's tarot book on his channel. So I will link that in the description box down below. But Taschen is a publisher of like art books. So they have gorgeous publications. They put a lot of effort into binding things well and having good illustrations and all this kind of stuff in their books. But for their 40th anniversary, I was actually going to get the tarot book. I was. But for their 40th anniversary, they did a special edition of 2 of their books that they've put out in the past. One being the Fairy Tales of the Brothers Grimm, and the other one being the Fairy Tales of Hans Christian Andersen. And so they created this gorgeous edition of these books. It actually has this really cool like page, look at these end papers. Anyways, it has this really cool like page protector thing. Oh, I'm getting my hair in my mouth. That kind of comes out, and you can actually fold it and put it in the back like properly. But basically it's so pretty. Every story in here, every fairy tale has a different illustrator that has historically illustrated these fairy tales. So the art in here is absolutely stunning. It's got all of my favorite Brothers Grimm fairy tales in the front half. We've got Hansel and Gretel and these beautiful introductions that tell you a little bit about the story, and like about like sort of the history of the story, and they also tell you who's illustrating that particular story. And then the same thing is true of the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales. Again, some of my favorites are in here. We have The Little Mermaid. There's this great little introduction. The Ugly Duckling, which is a favorite. The Snow Queen, The Princess and the Pea, Emperor's New Clothes, The Nightingale, Little Match Girl. So a lot of really classic Hans Christian Andersen stories in there as well. So this is a book I got to keep. And it was ridiculously affordable. So it's a hefty little beastie, and this book should have by rights been like $45–50 Canadian at a minimum, and it was, I don't know why, but it was on Amazon for like $23, and I'm like, well, I'm getting this one because the tarot one is still like 50 something. So that one's still on my list, and I will very likely still buy it. But the fairy tale book came first because I like me some fairy tales. So I'm really excited. I've actually been looking for a nice edition of the Brothers Grimm fairy tales for a while, and the Hans Christian Andersen is totally a bonus. But I love the Brothers Grimm. I grew up reading those stories, and they always felt really dark and intense growing up. They're still dark and intense, by the way. But they're very nostalgia for me. Nostalgic? Nostalgic. Okay. I babbled for like a long time about all of my favorite things. I'm going to put that over by my bed because I'm going to put it up on my shelf. Okay, anyways. Time to talk about decks. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and we are going to talk about all the decks that I've been working with this past month. Okay, here we are at my reading table. Let's dive into the decks that I've been working with this month. So first up, I want to talk about a couple decks that I didn't work with for like a full week or anything, but that I have been working with in other ways that I want to kind of shout out. So the first of these is my Last Unicorn Tarot. If you watch my other channel, Tarot with Lisa, which there's always a link to that down below, then you will know that I pulled this deck out during one of my live reading sessions, and it ended up just being really, really great. I ended up using it for, in fact, that card came up a bunch. I ended up using this deck for mediumship readings, which was not intended. I just got asked a kind of mediumship-y kind of question, and I was like, let's go with it. And this felt like the right deck to use, and it absolutely was. I ended up doing quite a few readings like that during that session, some of which were very intense and powerful. And so this has sort of kind of become that deck to me, the deck that I will reach for that kind of reading if I ever do them again. I'm sure that I will. I'm sure I'll get other questions like that or whatnot. But it did such a beautiful job. And also this is just a stunning deck, and it doesn't get a lot of airtime on my channel because it's like a treasured possession, and I should show it more, but I freaking love it. So I had to give it a little shout out this month. If you don't know, the last Unicorn Tarot was produced by Geekify. I'm going to pull my camera back from my table so it doesn't wobble when I touch my table. It's produced by Geekify, and you can still order it as far as I know. It was a Kickstarter. It was a very long Kickstarter process, but well worth it in the end because we got a beautiful, look at this like faux leather guidebook. It has like parchment looking pages, and we also, as part of the Kickstarter, even got a special card signed for by Peter S. Beagle, and there's also a bonus. The original lovers card they came up with, I was one of the people that was like, this does not work for the lovers. I had a whole bunch of opinions about it, but a lot of us did, so they ended up doing a different lovers card, which is the one I have shuffled into the deck. But it was really cool that they did this special signed card by Peter S. Beagle, so that's really special. And this guidebook feels like leather, has a built-in bookmark. It's just really a lovely set, and I adore it. Also came with a carved wooden box, which I keep up on my shelf, but I like my cards a little easier to get to, so I keep them in this Peggy bag. But anyways, the other thing I've been working with quite a bit throughout the month is the Muses of Tarot by Ethany. And one thing that I've been experimenting with this month to see how it felt is pulling in this deck and using it to anchor my client readings. So I think this has been used for all of the client readings that I've done this month, I'm pretty sure. And it's just been really interesting to use it in that way. So I will pull the muse who feels like she holds the intention or a suitable intention for that reading, and then I'll pull out her little portable altar card and I'll put it out on the table where it's visible during the reading. I'll use the invocation kind of tweaked as I use it to pull in that sort of energy for the reading. I really liked the way that it supported the reading. I haven't decided ultimately if it's a practice I'm going to stick with over the long term. I do think this is a really cool deck, and it does a great job of holding those intentions for the reading. I'm just so stuck in my patterns of using crystals and using the Making Magic cards, which are, I've got them nearby because I use them all the time, these guys, to anchor my readings. And I've been using both over the past month or so and really enjoying the way that they work together. But I just don't know if I'm just going to stick with or go back to just using these Making Magic cards. So I haven't decided if the muses will be a part of my client reading process long term or not. I have to say though, these are so beautiful, and the backings and the feel of these cards are gorgeous. I will say for me, the real treasure in this box set that Ethany put together is actually in the guidebook. Let me just pop these back in there. Oops, where is it? Here we go. This book for this deck is just, it could be a standalone tarot book, and really it does stand alone as well as just being great to use with the cards. But each of the muses has sort of a rulership in this system over some of the tarot cards in the deck. But there's some great like write-ups on the individual tarot cards. It's got a very sort of approachable feel, and it's neat to see them grouped together in different sort of sets than you would normally maybe see them. And there's correspondences for each grouping. So it's a really cool system. I'm still playing with it, so we'll see where I land. But I did use it a lot in October, so I wanted to give it a little shout out. The Muses of Tarot by Ethany. So, and of course, always a shout out to the Making Magic cards because I use them constantly. Now let's talk about the decks I actually worked with throughout the month during my regular like reading for myself practice and stuff. So first off, I worked with, in the first week of October, the Shadowland Tarot. You'll notice that mine is back in its box and not in a Peggy bag, and it's in order because I have decided, I think, to rehome this deck. I talk a little bit more about that in my upcoming anti-haul, so you'll want to check that out. But, sorry, spoiler alert to my upcoming anti-haul. The thing about this, and by the way, I paired it with the House of Shadows Lenormand by the same author, and I am keeping the House of Shadows. I think it's great. I think both decks are great, but I did have some issues, so I'll share that with you here momentarily. So this is kind of what my daily draw setup looked like when I was working with these decks together to read for myself. I would pull a single Shadowland Tarot card for the day, or I would pull 4 or 5 in its own reading. And then I would have a 2-card combo from the House of Shadows. And honestly, like doing like combos like this where you had like different combinations. I loved the 2-card combos with the House of Shadows Lenormand, and the House of Shadows Lenormand is really fun because there's some extra cards in this deck. In fact, I've even written on my little guidebook what the keywords are for the extra cards. So there's a Mandrake, a Lantern, a Hand, a Poppet, a Ghost, and Ancestors in this little Lenormand deck. So I loved working with this, but y'all, the Shadowland Tarot fell really flat for me. It read really great, by the way, when I was reading for clients. That's about it for show and tell. Sorry. It read really great when I was reading for clients, but when I went to read for myself, it just did not land. Like, it felt like no matter what I did, I was not connecting or bonding with it for myself, like, at all. So again, I talk more about that in my upcoming anti-haul, but we just did not get along, and October should have been the month when I was really bonding with this deck. And there's a few things issues I have around the aesthetics of the deck and how it feels to handle, and I was not excited. In the second week of October, I worked with my beloved Zombie Tarot and the Halloween Oracle. This is a Stacey DeMarco Oracle deck, and I just love it. So I had a lot of fun. This is probably, the Zombie Tarot is probably my favorite Halloween tarot deck, or Halloween-ish themed tarot deck. I wouldn't say that artistically these two went together necessarily, but there's very little to me that pairs beautifully with the Zombie Tarot. It's not entirely true. There's some vintage decks, but I really wanted to work with these two in combination. Message-wise, though, they really worked. So I typically did a 4-card spread, actually, with the Zombie Tarot, and then I pulled 1 Oracle card. That's been a lot of what I've done. My practice shifted around halfway through the month, and I'll talk about that with the next decks, but this was a lot of fun. It was an easy reader. I also used this deck in not client readings, but in live readings on my second channel. I just feel like this one brings all the like campy fun, and this one brought more of the serious message in, so I felt like working with them together just was really a balanced experience, and that was a lot of fun. So those I worked with in the second week of the month. No complaints. I love both of these decks. I come back to them again and again, so I will say both of these feel like seasonal decks for me. I don't really reach for them at all the rest of the year, so they are like October fun times for me, and I think that's okay. But that is definitely sort of their niche and where they are in my collection. So next up, I'm just going to keep us zoomed in. I worked with the Bohemian Gothic Tarot. I still have it, and it's out of sync because I think you will see a video coming up where I say I still decided to let it go. Just ignore that because that was pre-filmed content. But I did ultimately decide to keep this deck. So it is staying, and it's largely staying because of feedback you guys gave me. But I paired this with the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. This is illustrated by Giada Rose, but it's by Loriane Anderson and Juliette Diaz. This deck has been incredible to work with. So something I did do, I believe, yes. So I shuffled reversals into my Bohemian Gothic because there were reversed meanings in the guidebook. And I also did the same with my Samhain Oracle. And I did that because depending on whether you pulled the card upright or reversed, there was a different message, and I really wanted to work with it that way. Now, here's where my practice did shift. So I'm going to pull this out and show you what I started doing. And I'm pretty sure that this was inspired by Dawn Michelle and something she talked about in her How She Works with Oracle Decks video, which if I remember, I will link that down below. So what I started doing is I would actually pull out my Oracle deck first. And I would shuffle and pull a card in the center. And I would think about that message. I would read what the guidebook had to say. I'd always turn the card upright and take a look at the artwork, read the little poem. And then I would put it back on my table. I would read the message from the guidebook, which, by the way, this Seasons of the Witch guidebook is so good. These messages were amazing. I'd read what the guidebook had to say. And based on what I got from the Oracle card, I would build my questions. So, for example, let me just grab one. So let's say divination. Let's say I pulled divination, and let's say, I'm not going to look it up because we'll be here forever, but let's say the message was about, you know, it's based on drawing this card. It's a good idea to pull out your cards and do a reading. So I might take my tarot deck then, and that's going to be my question. So it's going to be like, okay, well, then my first question is, based on what I get from this card, my first question might be, okay, what should I do a reading on, right? So I'd shuffle my other deck, my Bohemian Gothic, and I'd pull a card and I'd go, okay, my reading should be on, oh, I should do a reading about dealing with my shadow. I got the Strength card. Let's zoom us in just a little. I got the Strength card. So I should do a reading on how to best work with my shadow. Okay, so what is it that I should be trying to get out of this reading? Might be my next follow-up question based on this. It's like, okay, wait, what about my shadow is it that I need to focus on in the reading? So I'll pull a different card. And Knight of Cups reversed. Oh, okay, so there might be some shadowy behavior coming through about how I'm dealing with others, especially in my relationships. Okay, so it became a conversation, and it's really kind of hard to explain, but I actually have gone with this method ever since. So you'll see that I did the same thing in the next decks I worked with. I'm still doing the same thing in the week that I'm on now with a whole different deck, but it was really nice to just, let's just split this, to do cards like this where the oracle card became sort of the foundation for the message, and then I would actually build my question for my tarot off of this card, and then I would get that card and I would build my follow-up question, and usually it was something like, what is it that I need to do? Like, how do I need to do that? Like, what is it? And then this question was often springboarding off of this one and would be like, well, why? So like, for example, the dark moon, maybe the message is you need to look at the darkness, and it's like, what part of the darkness should I be focusing on? And then I would pull a card over here. Oh, Ace of Swords. Maybe there's something that's obscure that I'm not quite thinking clearly about. Okay, so how can I get more clarity? And then I would pull the card over here. Oh, the Two of Wands. I need to look at possibilities and other perspectives because I've obviously gotten locked in a way of thinking. So you can kind of see how it became this organic process. And y'all, I'm addicted to this process now. I've been really, really enjoying it. So that is what I've been doing. And that started with the Bohemian Gothic Tarot and the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. And I had a really great time. This deck is really wonderful. I'm so glad I didn't let it go. But I was real close there for a bit, y'all, as you knew. But the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle is really beautiful. I love the upright and reverse meanings in the guidebook. I didn't, as I expected, get into a lot of the spreads in here. As I mentioned in my walkthrough, there are like 13 spreads in here. And I really want to try some of them, but I haven't yet. I've just been getting so much out of working with the deck. And actually, you can see some chips to the gilding, but surprisingly, considering how heavily I've used this deck, it's held up pretty well. Now, I'm going to keep this on the table, though, because I continued to work with this through all of last week, so the last week of October, and alongside it, I worked with my Halloween Tarot in a Tin. So I did the exact same thing. So I would pull my center card, and I worked with this deck both with and without reversals, and I ended up landing on enjoying it without reversals better. But I'm still playing with how I feel about reversals, so that's a whole thing. But yeah, so I would pull a card from the center, and based on what I got, so crystals and herbs, I'd be like, okay, wait. So what I actually did, I forgot about this. What I actually did over the past week leading up to Samhain is every oracle card was going to be, what I was asking of the oracle is, what do I need to incorporate into my Samhain ritual and spell work this weekend? And so this was actually one of the cards I pulled. I think I actually pulled it upright, and I was like, crystals and herbs, okay. And so I used this card and was like, what kind of work do I need to do with crystals and herbs? So I shuffled, pulled one single card, and we'll just go with this. So Page of Imps. Oh, okay, I need to like unlock more options, more possibilities, a sense of adventure, maybe get more relaxed or like spontaneous, right? Okay, well, how am I going to do that? And then I would shuffle this side and I'd pull a card. Oh, Knight of Bats. I just need to go for it. Like, I need to figure out what kind of ritual work or herbal work I can do that'll help me just move things forward, like break any obstacles that are in my way. It's kind of hard to describe, but I would essentially, again, build the question off of this and then use this deck to ask more questions, right? To figure out what I was going to do. And based on my reading results all week long, I made notes in my traveler's notebook, in my journal. I made notes about what sort of things these readings inspired me to incorporate into my Samhain rituals for this weekend. So it ended up really helping me shape my ritual and what I wanted to do this year. And it was a lot of fun. So that was really cool to use the cards in that way, because I definitely hadn't used them like that before. So that was a lot of fun. The Halloween Tarot is a great little Rider-Waite-Smith clone. It does have some quirks of its own, but it's such an easy reader if you are comfortable with Rider-Waite-Smith. And I love this little tinned version. Happy I have it. My only regret is I've heard that the guidebook that comes with the full-size version of this deck is really, really good. But I have to say, even the little white book is pretty good in this deck. And the Samhain Oracle is so special. I love it so much. I had so much fun working with it. I worked with it for 2 weeks, the second half of October. I just didn't want to put it away. So that is what I worked with. This is probably a deck that I will go to for ritual planning. outside of the season, because I think it was really good at having cards. I just put it away, but it's really good at having cards like Divination, Dark Moon, Haunted, Owl. I don't know, a lot of these cards were very inspiring for what kind of work I wanted to do for my ritual. And I'm not yet sure if that's because it's so focused on Samhain, so it just felt so appropriate to use it that way, or because it's so delightfully witchy. I haven't figured that out yet, but I had so much fun working with this deck. So that, my friends, is all of the things that I worked with in October, all of the decks. I had a lot of fun. October is one of my favorite months for pulling out like specifically seasonal decks. In fact, it's the only month of the year where I really like just do seasonal decks, but this was a lot of fun. My pile is all the way over to the one side. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun working with all this stuff. So now that I'm done filming this really long video, I'm going to wrap this up. We'll see what magic I can work in editing. If not, you're welcome for the really, really long video. Thank you for hanging out with me for my October show and tell. I love sharing with you guys all the things I've been loving and working with and enjoying over the past month. So thank you for hanging out with me. Please do click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you are new here for lots of witchy and tarot content. Please do hit the little bell if you want to get notified of my future videos and my live streams. And as always, if you want to book a reading with me, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so, so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? Is it coming? Hello? Is there a sneeze about to happen? Also, I am dressed like it is summer because I'm having, I don't know, a hot flash or something. I swear, I woke up and it was like cold, so then I was all bundled up. Now I am really, really warm, so thank you hormones? I don't know. But anyway, this is actually my favorite polish brand and nail polish experience of, I literally just threw it on the floor. This is my favorite nail polish brand and nail polish experience? Why can't I say that? My favorite, okay. I can do this. Oh, did I just spill polish? No. Okay, we're good. You know it's a long video when I'm already on the second clip and I haven't started the decks or books part yet.